You are not your thoughts and feelings, you experience them. A lot of my own struggles with mental health originated from this idea that those thoughts in my head were me. So, for example, I remember I was on holiday with my parents and I experienced what we might call an intrusive thought, a thought I found very horrible, and I started obsessing over it, trying to prove that that wasn't me, trying to understand why I would think such a thing. And that, of course, only made things worse. The brain is a very quick learner. By me giving all this attention to the thought, trying to figure things out, the brain would only then throw up more of those thoughts. It was only trying to help. So I was checking whether I was a good person, and the brain threw up more thoughts for me to check whether I was good because I was chasing that certainty. Now, my mental health already wasn't in the best spot at this moment. For a long time, I thought those intrusive thoughts are what caused my mental illness, but actually, it was the compulsions causing the illness and the compulsions causing more of those thoughts. So I call this thought an intrusive thought because that's what it's commonly known as. But I found it way more helpful to kind of ditch the concept of intrusive thoughts and instead just have thoughts. And here's why. So I read the statement that you are not a thought. I read that a while ago and it got me instant relief. Okay, those horrible things in my head, those aren't me. But I was still putting thoughts in charge in a lot of areas in my life. And it was only when I started making changes across the board that my mental health started to improve. So making the distinction between intrusive thoughts and other thoughts that were me wasn't useful at all. It was way more helpful to just see thoughts as things I experience and I don't have to do anything with them. I can live my life according to my values instead of reacting to those thoughts and feelings I experienced. So back in the day, I was very much in a state of cognitive fusion. It's where we really fuse with our thoughts and feelings and think they are us. And of course, we can actively think about things, we can ruminate on things, so we do have the control to think about stuff. But you have probably noticed when you aren't actively thinking about stuff, the brain will still produce a lot of thoughts. It doesn't just quiet down all of a sudden. It's a thought producing organ and it'll keep doing that. So, because we can think about things, and because, especially in Western society, there's a lot of emphasis on thinking, we create this false sense of control that we should be able to control our thoughts, control our feelings, when in fact we have very little control. So, the exact same thing that happens with thoughts also happens with feelings. We will often say, I am anxious instead of I am experiencing anxiety. And the moment I learned that I could do all kinds of stuff whilst feeling any feeling was really a game changer for me. Instead of trying to feel more at peace, which ironically will only make us more anxious, I started doing the stuff I cared about whilst having any feeling, whilst feeling anxious, whilst having intrusive thoughts, whilst feeling guilty. And in this way, we take the power away from those feelings and we can choose to take our lives in a more useful direction. Okay, so here's some fun thought experiments we can do to kind of challenge this false sense of control and then check out what happens. First one is try not to think about your favorite ice cream. So do not think about the flavor, do not think about the way it looks, the way it tastes, when you've last had it. Don't think about any of these things. Okay, next one. Be aware of the feeling in your left leg. So really feel the sensations in your left leg. And then once you've done that, once you're aware of that, make it go completely numb. So numb that you wouldn't feel a thing, even if we'd cut it off wouldn't be painful, you wouldn't feel anything. So just make the feeling go away. So the last one, let's imagine someone is putting a loaded gun to your forehead and they tell you that if you experience any anxiety, if you feel anxious at all, if you feel afraid at all, they'll shoot you. Would you then be able to stop yourself from feeling anxious? This is not about acting calm to them, this is about actually feeling calm. Could you do that? So instead of trying to challenge your negative thoughts or try to change them into positive thoughts, doing affirmations. Instead of doing all of that, try just having thoughts and feelings. They can be there, you don't have to bother them. They can come along as you do all the things you care about in life. Okay, so let's go over a quick example of what reacting to thoughts and feelings can actually do in your life. Let's say we have someone that's been struggling with depression and that's been mainly obsessing over being single, feeling very lonely. Let's say they're out with friends, having dinner, and then thoughts start to pop up about how they're all in relationships, they have it so much better than me. They don't know what it's like to come back to a empty apartment after a night like this, and they'll start feeling anxious. And the more and more they engage with these thoughts and feelings, the more they'll come up and the less connected they'll be with what's actually happening around them. So you can see they obviously value connection to other human beings, and opportunity is right there. So the friends are right around them. There's warmth, love, joy. They can connect with all of that, but instead, by reacting to those thoughts and feelings, they will really disconnect from the situation and only make themselves more miserable. Okay, let's go over some great supports. The first one is being proactive instead of reactive. This is really about being proactive about what you want to do with your day, what you want to do with your time, instead of reacting to thoughts and feelings, putting them in charge. It'll be about scheduling things, and at first it might even be a fun exercise to schedule the exact time you will do something. You don't have to schedule your entire day. That's not what it's about. This is just an exercise where you maybe schedule one thing a week, you schedule it at the exact time you have to do it, and then whatever thoughts, feelings are present, then you feel like procrastinating on it, you can still do it at that exact time. And this is really teaching the brain that we can do stuff whenever we want. But being proactive is also about how you approach certain areas in life. So if we take health anxiety, for example, you can be proactive in taking care of yourself by eating healthy food, by being active, by resting proactively instead of waiting until we feel worn out and then take some rest. And these are all things we can proactively do, and we can trust in those instead of reacting, where we might be Googling certain symptoms we have or checking for reassurance with others, whether there's nothing wrong with us. The second support is being intentional. This is about having intentions for certain situations. These intentions will be about what you want to give instead of trying to get something out of the situation. So let's say you're hanging out with friends. You might set the intention to listen to them or to learn more about them. And then when you're hanging out, thoughts and feelings start to creep up and ask for your attention. You can then redirect your attention to your intention, and you can just listen to what they're saying or ask them a question. And this can really help not getting caught up with the stuff in your head. The third support is mindfulness and meditation. So with mindfulness and meditation, we can learn to not react to those thoughts and feelings and instead just let them be there. And we can actually start to be curious about them. We can start to actually explore feeling them instead of trying to push them away or get rid of them. So when I talk about mindfulness, I will sometimes notice it's still kind of seen as hippie. I know I've been called hippie on multiple occasions. However, mindfulness is not about sitting around meditating all day, lighting up candles, saying mantras. It's actually about living your life. So if we meditate, of course, that's a passive state, but we can tie that to action very well with mindfulness. We can do a lot of actions mindfully, and we can also tie our mindfulness practice very well together with the actions we want to practice with following our values. Mindfulness is actually about living our lives and connecting to it. So there's another important thing I'd like to note, and that has to do with meditation. It's very important not to get into meditating to try to feel calm or try to be relaxed. Then we're still making it about having a certain feeling or getting rid of an anxious feeling. If we meditate to try and get rid of anxiety, we're completely missing the point. Meditation is actually a perfect way to learn how to experience anxiety and start to be curious about the experience instead of trying to push it away or get rid of it. And this is so useful because here we can learn that those thoughts and feelings can be there and we don't have to do anything with them, and we can actually just experience them. And with mindfulness, we can apply these qualities into everyday life. So let's say you're going for a walk, you can focus on whatever you're seeing, whatever you're hearing or feeling, instead of ruminating over past mistakes or having imaginary conversations in your head or listening to a podcast. Or, for example, when we're eating, we can simply be with the food, notice the taste, notice the smell, instead of planning out our week or going over all the stuff we still need to do that day. I personally really like mindful walks, but see which activities are easiest for you to practice. So you can really try mindfulness with every activity, and it's not about trying to get it perfectly, trying to be focused the entire day, be really connected and present. You can be kind to yourself as you explore this, and you can start small and maybe build the practice from there. We don't have to put this big pressure on ourselves to kind of get it right or do it perfectly. Often, when we get into mindfulness and meditation, we'll quickly experience thoughts such as, this isn't for me, or I can't keep focus for long enough, or this isn't working. It's very natural to get distracted. You can expect that to happen. I've been meditating regularly for more than half a year and I still get distracted very easily. Most of the practice is actually noticing we're distracted and then bringing ourselves back to whatever it is we were doing. Now let's bring ourselves to the wrap up of this video. You are not your thoughts, feelings, and sensations. You experience them. You can experience them as you do all the stuff you care about. You don't have to bother them. In making this shift, there's a few things I found really helpful. The first one is being proactive. The second one is being intentional. And the third is exploring mindfulness and meditation.